Bethesda. Good morning, everybody. And happy anniversary. Let me start by saying, happy anniversary. This is our anniversary. This is not my anniversary. This is our anniversary. Because I can't think of anything that's ever happened to Great Bethesda Church that I did by myself. Every last thing. So give yourselves a hand. Amen. Everything that's going on here. Amen. I want to thank the world's greatest fraternity. And I mean that the word fraternity means brotherhood. Amen. And I talk about them all the time. Amen. But y'all see some of them here. Praise God. The men of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Gavin Ponchak, the Super Chapter. Amen. If my brothers would stand real quickly, Sister Marley, could you pan over there and see my brothers standing up? All over the room, brothers. Stand up, stand up, stand up. Come on, put your hands together. Thank you all for being here. Amen. Amen. God bless. Thank you all for being here. It's our annual achievement weekend. It centers around Founders Day, which is November 17th. And we have a series of events that we do. We have a brothers-only dinner that we have, and we have an award ceremony, a lot of things. But it always culminates with a worship service. Amen. And we come together. And so I think I honor the Lord that they thought it not robbery to join us here at Greater Bethesda on today and to come to us. So welcome, brothers, this week has been a very illuminating week for me. I don't know if y'all probably didn't even hear about it, but at my job at Woodyard Road Middle School, many of our students took place in a organized protest. I don't know if y'all heard about it. They didn't get no publicity, so. And what happened was on Friday, about 32 kids decided they're going to walk out to school to protest the election of President-elect Trump. And oh my, yes, amen. And they just got up at 11:30 and walked out of the school. Well, our principal, Miss Simley, who's a very direct lady, she said, "Kate, go get them." So I went and got them. And I brought them, lined them up, they came back like a line of prisoners, and lined them up in the cafeteria, and wanted to know where, well, let me tell you how short way. I didn't get them right away. I didn't catch them till like almost 2 o'clock. So I didn't get right. Now, because this is what had happened. They forgot that they had to ride the bus home. So they left out in protest. And one little boy said, "I left my house keys in my locker." So I had to go. Lord Jesus. So they came back and Mr. King got a chance to, I'm talking to them. I want to know exactly what's going on. So I said, why we talked about protesting and their First Amendment rights and freedom of speech and all of those things. And I asked them, where did they get this idea? And they said they got it on social media. They were told that this was part of a larger protest, right? And they all were supposed to go down to PG Plaza. Yeah, that's the center of political influence, PG Plaza. But you want to go down to PG Plaza. But anyway, they were supposed to hook up with other kids and protest. And I said, well, did y'all go down there? They said, yeah, we went down there, but it was police down there. I said, well, that's part of the protest. No. I said, well, Martin Luther King and them marched right into the police. And they got put into real jail. And they had to call their real mamas to come in and get them out. So that, if you're going to protest, you got to pay the price. But anyway, so I said, who told y'all to do this, Rick? I said, who told y'all? They said, we don't know. Wait a minute, you don't wait. You're going to leave school and protest and you don't know who told you to do it. And they said, it came over, on the phone. I said, well, let me see the phone. This is what I'm learning. Yeah. They say it's gone because it was on Snapchat. Now, I don't know nothing right. Snapchat. Now, y'all laughing, but if you're my age or older, you don't know nothing about Snapchat either. You heard our kids say something about Snapchat, right? So I learned about this Snapchat thing somewhat. And I learned that it is an app that was originally designed for videos and stuff. right? It'll take up a lot of memory. Snapchat is for people who have limited memory. Their memory is limited, so they don't have a lot of space for new things. So after 24 hours, whether the message is good or whether it's bad, whether it's important or unimportant, it's gone. Right? So this was the message, and so as I thought I tried to stay hip to the thing, stay on top of things. And so this Snapchat, which BJ says is old now, but whatever, I just got it. He said, I say, Lord, why do you keep bringing me back? And he said, tell my people this morning that some of us have a Snapchat mentality. Because some of us have a Snapchat mentality. And so the name of this message in a few minutes that I have, I know I got about 70 minutes before Gigi. Gigi said I have 88 minutes. Praise God. I'm not going to be that long, I promise. But God is saying to us that many of my children have a Snapchat mentality, and they don't understand the idea of required remembrance. Required remembrance. One of the things, Deshaun, that technology has done is that it has wiped out our memory. Right? We don't have to remember anything. Right? Now, when we were growing up, there was things you had to remember. Right? When you went to school, I came from KK size. You had to know your mom's name. And you had to know her phone number. You had to know your address. If you couldn't get mom, you had to know auntie's number. These are things you had to know, right? But nowadays, because we have technology that remembers the phones and all that kind of stuff, we don't have to remember anything. But God is saying, to fulfill the destiny he has on our lives, there are still things that are required to remember. And that you can't press away. I even heard of young men who don't know their girlfriend's phone numbers because it's in the phone. Right? So if you take away the phone, you take away everything. You take away all of their memory. And God says, what's going on is that people are not remembering. And this is to remember here. It means to have in or be able to bring in one's mind an awareness of someone or something that one has seen from the past. Of all the things that we do in our lives, one of the most important things we do is remember. Every year, this time of year, my brothers, we gather and we rededicate ourselves to remember. Right? And if you think about every holiday just about that we celebrate as a family has something to do with remembering. Christmas, we remember the birth of Christ. Resurrection Sunday, we remember the resurrection of Christ. Our birthdays, we remember our anniversaries. Everything that we celebrate, we constantly celebrate remembering. But the key to God is saying it's not enough just to remember. And he wants us to remember the things of God. Not just remember the trivial things, but to remember the things of God. Now, I looked up some things about how to get a better memory, how we can improve our memory. And real quickly, according to Psychology Today magazine, the first way they said to get your memory improved, whatever, is to think of things as a memory tree, a mental tree. Big ideas are branches and details are leaves. So first get the big idea, then the leaves. Right? Okay, y'all, check. He said, but if you want to really remember the next thing, you have to be interested in that which you are remembering. Yes. Part of the reason why kids are having such a hard time in school is because they're not interested in what you're saying. Because the same kid who cannot remember his geometry formulas, the same kid who cannot remember the presidents in order, can tell you every game that LeBron James played, how many points he scored there. Right? It's all what they're interested in. And so in order to remember things, you must see it as a mental tree, and then you must be interested in it. But the last one, and those who are educators, many educators here today, the last thing, memory is only important in as much as you connect it to new things. So he says, you must take prior knowledge, you must activate prior knowledge in order to remember today, you have to activate prior knowledge from yesterday. And that is where God has us this morning. That's where he wants us to be. Well, you see, it's not memory that pleases God, not remembering, but recall. Y'all know what recall is? Y'all know the difference between recall and remembering? See, when something comes in our brain, it stays in our brain. Right? When you learn something, when a piece of information comes to your brain, our brain is a miraculous computer that stores all this information. And once it's in there for good. Right? The question is, can you bring it back when you need it? Every animal has memory, but the reason that man has dominion over the rest of the earth is because we have the fastest recall. God is saying it's a dangerous thing when you don't recall. There was a movie that God was writing this whole thing up. I was watching a movie the other night, and it actually was a comedy with the boy Sandler, Adam Sandler, and Drew Barrymore. And the way the story goes, this young lady had a bad accident, and she had lost her short-term memory. So every day was a brand new day. And it was a comedy, but when you think about it, it's a very dangerous thing not to be able to access prior knowledge. And God is saying, some of my children, y'all are not accessing prior knowledge. Why on November 8th are we crying and screaming and all that stuff? Did you not access the fact that I am the God that brought you through Ronald Reagan? And both of the Bushes? Amen. Amen. That the same God that was prayed to from slave quarters. Oh, how quickly y'all forgot. See, you didn't access. It was in there. You knew that at one point black folks were slaves. And you knew that times had been tough before. But when all of a sudden, when the present conflict comes, you forgot it and you didn't access the prior information. It's a dangerous thing when you don't recall. See, it's in there, but when you don't recall it, see, you don't know what hurts you and helps you if you don't have no recall. You don't know which animals to stay away from, or people to stay away from, or situations to stay away from. See, as we get older, it's not our memory that gets bad, it's our recall. Because some of us, see, as we go, some of us do what Roger Clemens called misremember. Have you ever done that? Is there a fact in your head? I know Gigi has some because he's been around, praise God, many years. So have you ever had a fact in your head, and then later on you find out that fact that you thought was true for years wasn't true? Mm-hmm. Amen. You have been operating and believing in that thing as a fact. Yeah, because Grandma went to Spingarn, and she graduated in 1963. And every time you've been past that Spingarn, I go, that's my grandma's school. Yeah, Spingarn, that's my grandma's school. And Grandma said, I went to Easton. Grandma, no you didn't, you went to Spingarn. Okay. You mean all these years I thought Grandma went to Spingarn, right? Because time has a way of warping things, and we get involved in other things, and then we take what we have misremembered and we trust it. And God is saying a whole lot of us have gotten messages that have been twisted by Satan, and we begun to trust them. When they said, no, you can't do this. Somebody said that it couldn't be done. And you began to trust that. Nobody from your neighborhood has ever gone to college. And you look around and you know that's true. Ain't nobody ever been. And you begin to trust that that's what's true. You begin to misremember the fact that nobody from your neighborhood has ever done a whole lot of things that God has turned around. Yes. Amen. And so what he's telling us to do right now is to go back to our required memory. Now, Lamentations 19 and 23. I want you to remember the sermon of census, Sister Serena. He said, God is saying, first of all, it's not what we remember that strengthens our faith. It's what we recall that strengthens our faith. Right? It's not what it's in you. It's not what's, for example, Tommy Boone, elder brother Boone, who's a police officer, he said, if those people who have handguns for protection in their homes, he said, don't do no good to put the handgun in the shed. Well, how's it going to protect you? Right? You can have it, but if you can't access it, it's useless. So God is saying to us in Lamentations 19 through 20, Lamentations 3, 19 through 23. He says, remembering mine affliction and my misery, the wormwood and the gall, my soul hath them still in remembrance, and is humbled in me. This I recall to my mind, and therefore have I hope. It is of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. They are new every morning, and great is thy faithfulness. That's the whole story right there. When I think about the bad things that I've been through, the miseries and the things that I've lost and the pain that I've experienced, I still remember them. He said, my soul still hath them in remembrance. And it still affects me. I'm humbled in me, he says. But then I recall. Then I think back, and therefore have I hope that it's gone. This is the best way to say it's gone. Everything that I've ever done good has been God. Every way that's ever been made has been God. So I have no reason not to believe that God's going to continue. Amen. To bless me. But what happens when we don't remember? Somebody turn real quick. I'm almost done, Gigi Paul. Turn to Genesis. Turn to Genesis. The 40th chapter of Genesis. The 40th chapter of the book of Genesis. Now, in this story, there's a guy named Joseph, and many of us already know the story of Joseph, but for those of us who don't, Joseph was a guy who seemingly got a raw deal. Joseph got curried, as we said back in the neighborhood, by everybody. His brothers betrayed him. They lied on him. You know the old song, he was lied on, talked about, buked, and scorned. And he did nothing wrong. Right? He was sold because he had a dream, and he shared the dream with his brothers, and he had a coat of many colors. His brothers, out of jealousy, sold him into slavery. So then he goes from being a slave, and he goes into Potiphar's house, and he's accused of raping someone that he never even touched. And he gets put in jail for that, right? And so while he's in jail, but every step of the way, God's hand is upon him. It doesn't make any difference what you're going through as long as God's hand is upon you. You can be in jail with God's hand is upon you. I would rather be in jail and have God's hand upon me than be in a pit house and be by myself. And so Joseph, God's hand was upon him, and he was granted favor everywhere that he went, because Joseph would always remember God. He would always recall what God had said and what God had done. And so by the time we get to chapter 40, by the time we get around here, an issue comes up involving two dudes who were in the jail with him. One was a cupbearer, butler. The other was a baker, right? And it's interesting, we have to stop for a second and look. Both of these guys worked for Pharaoh, but they had very different jobs, very different responsibilities. You see, in those days, it was a lot of, treason, a lot of, war and subterfuge going on. And so the Pharaoh's life was always in danger. And there was very few people with whom he could trust. And so one of the key ways they tried to kill the Pharaoh was to poison him. And so if you had the cupbearer who brought you your drink was somebody that you had to trust, because they were always trying to get cupbearers to backdoor the Pharaoh to kill him. And so the Pharaoh, the cupbearer was a person of service, of trusted service. Right? The other guy was a baker. He was a guy of creation. He was supposed to make new things. And so these two positions are symbolic of service and performance, or service and creation. Right? And so what happens now is the king has put service in jail, and he's put creation in jail, and they happen to be in the jail with Joseph. God is saying, some of you are called into ministry of service. And some of you have been called to create new things. But they all are going to be tried in the fire. Right? When God put an invention in your head, and that invention is going to do great things, but before it can give God glory, it has to be tried in the fire. You might have a service that you want to perform for the Lord, a talent or a gifting, a ministry that he's given you, but before it can flourish, it has to be tried in the fire. And God is saying one of the greatest triers of fire, one of the greatest tests is time. Time. Can you keep going over time? Can you persevere over time? I heard it just this morning. They talked about how an elephant, I didn't know this take 2 years to have a baby. 2 years. But a dog takes 63 days. Heard the preacher say this morning, the preacher say, so the elephant was talking to the dog. The mama elephant's talking to the mama dog, and the mama dog said, I don't think you pregnant. The mama elephant said, yes, I is. She said, no, you not. The mama dog has a whole little puppies. The mama elephant still, you ain't done nothing. I don't think you really pregnant. Yes, I is. The mama dog has another litter of puppies. My master had 2 litters of puppies. They said, I have given birth, I've come forth twice. Right? And you have brought nothing. Right? Now time go by, and a third litter, by this time now, hold on. She says, you not pregnant, you lying. It ain't no way. I done had 3 litters of puppies. Now why can't you give birth? If I've had 3 litters, the elephant says, it's very simple. I'm not having puppies. What I'm having is much, much bigger than what you have. So understand, when you are tested, sometimes the test is going to take a long time because what you're going to bring forth is much bigger. Everybody's popping these things out. They pop out because they fall. But we don't got something that's a little bigger. But I got to do something that's a little, it's going to take a little more time, and so I'm going to be tested for a little while longer. I got to stay in there a little while longer. My God. So Joseph was being tested. You would have thought it was enough that his brothers dogged him. That was a test. You would have thought it was enough that Potiphar's house, he was falsely accused, and that was a test. But he had to go back online again. Right? And so we get here, and we start at verse 6. Right? And Joseph came in unto them, meaning the baker and the cupbearer, in the morning, and looked upon them, and behold, they were sad. And he asked Pharaoh's officers that were with him in the ward of his Lord's house, saying, wherefore look ye so sadly today? And they said unto him, we have dreamed a dream, and there is no interpreter of it. And Joseph said unto them, do not interpretations belong to God? So tell me then, I pray. Joseph always talked about God. Always. He always connected everything back to God. So here we have, in the jail, after I've been through all this stuff, he have a right to be mad. A whole lot of people will be mad at God. Correct. So when the test comes, we're not going to recall, because being mad mess up your memory. We misremember a whole lot. Emotion makes you misremember. If you don't believe that, close your ears. Meet an old girlfriend. And she misremembered the story, brother. She don't remember the story. She misremembers. Because I was so mad at you, I forgot it was me that broke up with you. Man, you left me. No, you left me. Oh, Dad, I can't do it. Emotion, right? Now, in this time, these boys were sad, and they had a dream. But even in the middle of everything, Joseph, who had the right to be upset, Joseph stops. And he says, don't interpretations belong to God? Let me recall, when I was a child and God gave me a dream, And the interpretation when I was a boy, that belonged to God. And then when I was in Potiphar's house, and Potiphar asked me, and that belongs to God too. So I guess in this dream, everything belongs to God. Yes. All that you need comes from God. So he told these boys, they were having travail over these dreams, and he said, tell me the dream. It belongs to God, but I know that I'm connected to God. How many of us are scared to tell the world we're connected to God? How many of us are scared to let the world know who we serve? So we can't access the power because we're afraid. The world will say, oh, you're a holy roller, or oh, you're a cat, or oh, whatever it is. How many of us pass up opportunities to be blessed because we don't access God? But Joseph was not so. Joseph said, tell me, it belongs to God, but since I was a boy, you can tell me. And so they told him about these dreams. The cupbearer said, there was a vine in my dream that had 3 branches. And the branches had great big old grapes. And in the dream, hands were taking the grapes and squishing them into the Pharaoh's cup and handing the cup to the Pharaoh. And so Joseph said, cool, I got it. Your dream, the 3 branches mean 3 days. So in 3 days, the cup of Pharaoh is going to be handed by you. You're about to get your job back. Everybody shout. Everybody happy. Right, everybody happy. But so Joseph jumped down, verse 14. Joseph, after he gives him what he wants, he says, but think on me when it shall be well with thee. So I'm telling you about to get your job back. You're about to go to Pharaoh, get your job back, about to get whatever. He said, but when you do, but think on me when it shall be well with thee, and show kindness, I pray thee, unto me, and make mention of me unto Pharaoh, and bring me out of this house. For indeed I was stolen away out of the land of the Hebrews, and here also have I done nothing that they should put me into the dungeon. So here I'm doing what you want. I gave you the interpretation. Just look out for me when you get your job back out. That's what it says. So it would seem to me like when you hear good news that they would be remembering him. That would be the point. But Brigadier General Scott Daigle said yesterday, brothers, he said, some dogs only do tricks to get treats from the master's hand. The only time the dog will obey is when you have a treat. Right? I don't want a dog that only obeys because I have a treat in my hand. God doesn't want a child who only listens so they can get something. So what you going to do if I don't have a treat in my hand? That's right. Oh, yes. So he said, this boy, you happy? I interpreted the dream and I gave you good news. So remember me. Look out when you. So then the other one come up there, he's happy. What about me? He said, in my dream, there was a basket on my head. And birds kept flying over, eating out of the basket on my head. And then they lifted the basket up off my head. He says, well, hey, you're going to die. Pharaoh's going to cut your head off. Your head shall be taken from thee. He wasn't shouting. What? You mean sometimes the word of God is not good news for you? How come when the word of God is not good news for us, we don't want to believe it? How come the Bible that says, I can do all things through Christ, we believe that, but the Bible that says, be ye holy, for I am holy, we don't believe that? How about it says, be not drunk with wine? How about thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery? The same book, the same book. How about we listen to page 1 and we don't like page 14? Well, I digress. So he tells the baker that he's fit to die. Right? So they both go their ways. The cupbearer is happy. And the baker, I'm sure, is not feeling too good about things. Verse 23, Sister Serena. Bruh, this is Sister Serena, this theologian. You know you got that lady in church who always helps the pastor. That's her. Amen corner. You got to have an amen corner, praise God. Sister Serena, after all that has been said and done, in Genesis 40:23, what does it say?
And behold, 7 years withered then, and blasted with the east wind.
No, I say chapter 40, verse 23. Wait. No, we get there. It said, yet. So whoever got it, read.
And behold,
Go. Well, yeah, I'm about to do my stuff. Go ahead, First Lady, read it.
Yet did not the chief butler remember Joseph, but forgot him.
So after all is said and done, the chief butler, the one who got the good news, forgot. I'll bet the baker knew who he was. I bet the baker was like, what? But after he got the good news, it says he forgot about him on throne. He forgot. He got all the way where he needed to go. Have you ever had friends like that? When they get where they need to go, they forget who brought them there. They forgot how. Some of y'all, it was a spring block. You wouldn't have scored it all, but that one spring block. Right? How many of us forget the people who helped us along the way? The ones who sacrificed. The ones who put their own agenda to the side. How many of you forget the fact that it was God who provided you the opportunity to begin with? When you get where you go, you forget the things of God. He forgot that it was Joseph who interpreted the dream. But God don't forget. So boys go that way, boom, boom, boom. The baker, unfortunately, takes one. He's dead. And the cupbearer is in the house of Pharaoh. And he's pretty happy for a while. He's back. He got his job back. He's a GS, whatever teen job he He's got money. He's paid now. And so while he was in there, then a test comes up again. Now Pharaoh, now the boss is upset. For he has a dream and he cannot interpret it. And the boss is getting mad. He says, I can't figure this out. Every day I can't figure this out. I'm standing by a river and there are 7 kinds, and there are fat kind, and there are skinny kind, and the skinny kind come and eat the fat kind. I don't know what's going on. I don't get it. Matter of fact, call for my magicians. And so he calls in verse 40 of chapter 41, verse 8. He calls for his magicians. And they come and they can't figure it out. Now he's starting to get real mad. See? Because only in the U.S. government can workers not perform and the boss still be happy with that. I hired you to tell me mysteries. I got a mystery and you ain't telling me. I know there's a mean principal here at James Madison Middle School. And y'all know she is. And one of the things that she don't like is to repeat herself. Why am I telling you what you should be telling me? Right? So that's how Pharaoh is. Why I call for my soothsayers and they can't tell me nothing. And now everybody in the kingdom is scared because Pharaoh can't figure this out. He's getting frustrated. Somebody gonna get killed. Right? Now the same cupbearer thought he had security. The same job that you thought gave you security, the promotion that you cheated to get so that you would have security. The people that you stepped upon to get where you are so that you would have security, now you feel insecure in that place. Right? So in chapter 41, and it came, I'm on verse 8. And it came to pass in the morning that his spirit, meaning Pharaoh's spirit, was troubled. And he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and all the wise men thereof. And Pharaoh told them his dream, but there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh. Then spake the chief butler or cupbearer unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day. Dang. Now I recall back in the neighborhood. Wait. It was a dude when I was locked up. They could interpret dreams. Now I remember him. He told me to remember him back in chapter 23, verse 23. But now, when my head is on the chopping block, now I remember him. God is saying, how many of y'all do this? Now when the doctor says something, now you remember God.
Oh my God.
When the lawyer says something, now when the IRS envelope comes, now you remember God. Right, am I right? So he pulls out, there was a guy back in the neighborhood, and he could interpret scriptures, or dreams, I'm sorry. He says, Pharaoh was wroth with his servants, and he put me in the ward in the captain of the guard's house, both me and the chief baker. And we dreamed a dream one night, and I and he, and we dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream. And there was with us a young man, a Hebrew, servant to the captain of the guard, and we told him, and he interpreted us our dream. To each man, according to his dream, did he interpret, and it came to pass as he interpreted to us. I think I got a solution. Understand, when you work for God, you will be the solution. At some point in the problem, God's going to be the solution. If you work for the Lord, the whole company will need you. At some point, the chapter will need you. The whole frat will need you. At some point, your company, your community, your nation, at some point, Donald Trump's going to need us. We going to be the solution. We are the only answer. So don't get all scared. Don't worry about who he's putting in the various positions in his cabinet. Because at some point, before the shouting, he's going to need us to get on our knees to pray for him. The solution. And so Joseph was the only solution. So they went and got Joseph. Now, again, misremembering. Because I told you Brian King has a bad attitude sometimes. Praise. Okay, you didn't say it like that. And y'all do too. And y'all know, if you would have been Joseph and they called you to the king's or the Pharaoh's house, you'd have felt some type of way. I've been in jail on a beef I did not commit for years. And now you call me and want me to do something for you? Right. For real? Right. What would you have done? I'd have been like, what you want? What? Y'all, come on, man. I'm authentic now. And so, verse 15. Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee that thou can understand a dream to interpret it. He could have got mad, but he stayed connected. Verse 16, Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, it is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. The same way he gave God credit with the cupbearer, he gave God credit with that. And so the whole thing continues to go down. Jump ahead to verse 37. Here we go, Gigi. We're almost done. My man Gigi. He's going to kill me. That's all right. And so he tells them the story. Y'all know, oh, maybe you do. You know, he said he predicts and says to them, he prophesies that there's going to be time of famine. Right? Famine's going to come, and not only should you prepare for, not only should let you know there's a famine, but you should prepare for the famine. Now, why did he tell them to prepare for the famine? Because Joseph and God had a deal from way back. It's just a danger. Joseph's job was to deliver his people. God don't forget his assignments. So even though as Joseph goes through all of these vicissitudes, and even as he goes through all this, he still has the job to take care of his people. And so Joseph knew when the famine comes, in order to take care of our people, we have to have some food set aside. And so he gives unto Pharaoh the instructions, not only to bless the rest of the world, but to bless his people too. Understand, like my own pastor used to say, when you take care of God's business, he will take care of yours. Right? So in finding the solution for other people, staying connected to God, you automatically bless yourself. And so he tells them what to do and how to put things together and how to organize things. And Pharaoh was looking like, what? Not only did you interpret my dream well, but all these other bandits couldn't do it. But now you come up with a solution that seems, I believe that'll work. And so, verse 37, and the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, can we find such a one as this, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? That's what we need to know today. Can we find, if we walk out amongst these pews, can we find such a one? Not in whom got the master's degree, but in whom the Spirit of God is. Oh, yes. Because we don't, I mean, education is good, obviously. I'm a proponent of education. But we need some more, as they say, neology. We got all these people with all these degrees and no character. So what God is saying is, can I walk through here and find a man in whom the Spirit of God is? I know you went to Morehouse, but it's the Spirit of God in this place. Can I trust you and depend upon you to say what thus saith the Lord? He said, there's no such thing. Is the Spirit of God? He goes to him and says, can we find such a one as this? A man in whom the Spirit of God is? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, for as much as God hath showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Discretion. I can get into all that, praise God, Joseph. He ended up making a job for himself because Pharaoh saw the Spirit of God on him. Understand, when you stand up for God, he got to stand up for you. It's the rules. I don't care where you are. If you're in a prison, a pit, a palace, when you stand up for God, he's got to stand up for you. I don't care who's in the White House. When you stand up for God, he's got to stand up for you. All you got to do is remember who put you there.
Oh, yes.
Right? The same God that brought me to this place will lead me on.
Yes.
So now don't get tired. Don't go weary in well-doing. Because the same God who brought me to this place 365 days ago, God brought me to this place right about here. Right? The same God who brought me to this spot is the same God who's going to take me wherever else I got to go. So I just got to keep remembering. Don't outthink yourself. Don't misremember. Right? Not only remembering, but I have to recall it. I have to recall it with my mouth. I have to speak. I can do all things through Christ. Despise ye not the days of small beginnings. Beautiful are the feet of them that carry the gospel. Oh, I got to keep saying these things. I got to keep saying, I love the righteous. I never forsake. Oh, I got to keep saying these things out loud. Recall it, because God likes that. If I may speak for a second, the Lord likes when you do that. We as brothers of Omega, we can tell you, it's certain times, we like to hear people when they're under stress who can recall quickly. Especially Gigi. He loves that. All right? It does something to us, to our enthusiasm. You know, we watch people who are going through and they can start spitting. We like that. Right? God likes it too.
Oh, yes.
God wants, when you're up against some trouble, to be that ain't what I'm saying. God likes it. When you have him so deep on the inside that when you squeeze me, it's him that comes out. When the doctor says you sick, you say, by his stripes I am healed. God likes it when you say that. When you open up your IRS envelope and you say the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the dead. God likes it when you say that. Make him get eat up when you do that. And then he gets in your situation. He got in Joseph's situation. See, he gave Joseph a promotion and got in his situation. And then, once God gets in your situation, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty. So now you can do your thing. I'm closing. Yeah. But the answer's always got to be to glorify God. If you will glorify God where you are, there's no limit to where he will take you. If you will give God glory at the 7-Eleven, then he will take you to Ruth Chris. If you will give God glory at Ruth Chris, he will take you to whatever fancy place Rodney Beverly will eat. He can eat that places I know. They want to can't wear no tennis shoes and all that. He going to them kind of places. Right? But it started out with a boy from down the country glorifying God where it wasn't none. Am I right? It wasn't always there. Because you were faithful over a few things. He was faithful over a dream and a coat, so God gave him a kingdom. Because he remembered. Now, I'm done. There's things that we have to remember. We are required to remember. The first is that there was a child that was born into a virgin. And that he lived a perfect life that was without sin. We got to remember that he was in this world, but he was not of the world. We got to remember that. So that I can be in this world, but not of the world. That he was bruised for my transgressions. We got to remember that he gave up the ghost, that he died for my sins. Not his, mine, yours. That he stayed dead, and that on the third day, he rose again with all power in his hand. We got to remember, God likes it when you spit this, I'm telling you. And so, because he got up, I can get up. Because he has power over death, hell, and the grave. And he sitteth on the right hand of the Father, from whence he shall come. We have to remember that. Don't get so busy that you forget that. Don't get so angry that you forget that. We have to recall. We have to recall. So if there's one today, give me a little bit, Tim. If there's one today